Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Professor David J. Delos Reyes. What I will be discussing this morning will be I want to show you uh, my electronic component parts which are well organized because I've been using this one when I got a troubleshooting shop. So I make it a point that when I look for a certain part, like a resistor, capacitors, which comprises of electrolytic and the high frequency capacitors, I make it a point that I could get it easily. So I just want to show you for tonight, like this first, what do you call this, component assembly area here. It got some containers here, and they are all marked with the part numbers. Okay, so the part numbers are written. So if I needed a what do you call this, a transistor, okay, I'll just go here if I know the part number. Like this one here, this is TIP 125. This next one here is 2N2369. The markings are all there, telling that the transistors will be NPN or PNP, plus what will be the uses maybe. It could be a pass switch or an amplifier, plus the gain. So actually, when I was conducting my electronic troubleshooting business, okay, I could get my parts as fast as I can be because these are all field wheel parts already. There are still some parts over here, like this one here. I just want to show you. Okay, these are TO92 transistors. Okay. The next in line with this part here are the so-called high frequency capacitors. The ratings are actually in PF, meaning picofarad. Picofarad is, I think, 10 to the 9. So they are marked from like this one here and this first container here. I place it here 1, 2, 3, meaning to say the one inside is there could be 1 picofarad, 2 picofarad, and 3 picofarad. The markings on the small transistors are actually the number 1, 2, and 3 is actually on the body, and this should be in picofarad. Next one will be 4 picofarad, 5, 6, 7, 8. The last one will be up to something like the highest picofarad that I've got here is 56. I got a 271 picofarad. 271. These capacitors are actually used for what you call this support component for like in the assembly of an FM receiver. These are the ones used as a supporting component for the major ICs controlling the FM receiver. Okay. There are other types of capacitors here. The uses are actually different from the small ones. The bigger ones like this one here, like this one. This is a high voltage capacitor. This is a part of the so-called power supply. It could be a filter thing maybe. So what's in the rating here is the microfarad thing and the voltage rating. like this one here. Okay, that's how many is this one? 50 volts working voltage. But the other ones are actually high voltage capacitors. Like an example of another capacitor is this one. For those who don't have any experience on electronics, these are capacitors. The value of this one is actually 100 microfarad at 5 volts. So we are done with the transistors. It's all marked. The next one are the high frequency capacitors. These are actually used for support component for what you call this electronic circuitry, support component for the microprocessor, some other ICs. The next thing here is I got a complete value of resistor. I got a resistor here. This third value is this is 1 ohm. This go increasingly. What I stuck here are actually resistors with the power rating of 1/2 watts. So for this first container here, the first one is 1 ohm. It goes increasingly. The value will increase. So the next one is 1.2, 1.5, 1.8. The last thing here for this compartment is 12K. This is 12K. Then after 12K, I got the higher ratings now. 12K is 12,000. The next one, I got a 15K here. I got an 18K. It goes up. 22K, 27K. And the highest for this compartment, it will start at 15K. Then the last one here. What's the last one? For the 1/2 capacitor, it's a 6.8 mega ohm 1/2 watts. This is 6.8 million ohms. Okay, we could check this one by using the multitester. So this one, when I get my parts, they are all marked here. So I will just pull it out, then use it on my table while I am needing parts for my troubleshooting or assembly area. The other resistors that we are using in electronics are actually the high frequency, high power rating resistors. Like this one here. This one. The use of this one is different from the ordinary one. This one are used in the so-called power supply. And the other use of this one is actually like in the protection of what they call this, protection of what's this, speakers. We used to connect this one in series with the speaker thing. So when you go crazy while you are activating your amplifier, okay, your speaker will not burn out. So this is the one we are using in series with the speaker. So like what I said, when you go crazy, you try to increase the volume. Of course, the current actuating the speaker will be big. So without this, okay, your speaker will burn out. So this is one of the use of this high frequency, high power resistor. The value of this one is actually 8 ohm, 20 watts. The other equivalent of that one, this is also a high power resistor. Okay. What are the other resistors? For the protection on the power supply, sometimes we are using this one, power resistor. It's a 10 ohms. This is used as a, what they call this, like it's a fuse. If a power supply is overloaded, instead of using a fuse, we use this one. Or the original design of analog televisions before, they put this one on the power supply. So when the power supply is overloaded, this will get burned. The value is only 10 ohms, but the power rating is 2 watts. So power rating is 2 watts. If it got burned, meaning there is an overload. So sometimes while you are troubleshooting the power supply, try to look for a burned resistor on it. If the power supply or the receiver is dead, this could be the culprit. If this has blackened, okay, of course it was burned already. So it's an open circuit thing. No voltage will enter the entire circuit because this is already disconnected. So this is one use of a power resistor. Okay. Okay, so we are done with the transistor, high frequency capacitors. For the resistors that we are needing, it's from 1 ohm to 12K. This is from 15K to 6.8K. So any value from 1 ohm to 6.8 million, I could pick up from my component, what you call this, cabinet. Okay. The other component that we are using in electronics are actually the electrolytic capacitors. So in here, I got an electrolytic capacitors marked from the smallest to the biggest. The first one here, I got a 0.47 microfarad capacitor. Okay. It's all marked here. 0.57, 47, 1 microfarad, 2.2 microfarad. The ratings are 50 volt. So if I need a 0.47 microfarad, I just go inside this one and look for the marking 0.47 microfarad. If I need a 1 microfarad, I will just look for the number 1 microfarad on the side of the capacitor, electrolytic capacitor. So that's the smallest one. Then it will go up 3.3 to 6.8, right? 3.3, 4.7, 6.8, also 50 volts. These are electrolytic capacitors. Okay. The terminal with the black marking on the side is the negative one. This one, that's the negative one. And the other side without the marking is the positive one. Or if you are assembling a kit, the terminal with the longer leg is actually the positive terminal. Okay? And the shorter one is actually the negative terminal. Supposing the terminals are cut the same, so for you to know the positive and negative, the one with the marking on the side is actually the negative thing, and the one without the marking is the positive. If the terminals are cut equally, but if they are not cut equally and you just both it, the longer one is the positive and the shorter one is negative. That's how we call this show the polarity of electrolytic capacitors. This goes up to what's this? This is now this is big. This is not in sequence. This one, the next one is 47 microfarad, 68, 100 is still 50 volts. So as you can see it, also my capacitors are marked from small, it goes higher, right? So the highest one I've got here is, this is not in sequence. The highest one here, I got a, hold on. The highest one I've got here is, there should be a big one, 2.2. This is 220 microfarad, 220. This is 220 microfarad, but the voltage specs of this one is high. It's 250 volts. So this is a filter capacitor. Okay, the value is 220 microfarad, 250 volts. So these are used for filtering out the power supply for electronic receiver. Okay. So these are electrolytic capacitors. There are other types of electrolytic capacitors, not other types. So if we try to differentiate electrolytic capacitors, there are the low voltage types and there are the high voltage types. The high voltage types are the one used for power supply, and the lower voltage are actually used as a support component for electronic circuit. If you got an IC and you see small capacitors around it, these are the capacitors being used over there. The low voltage capacitor, it acts as a support component for integrated circuits, because the support component are actually the high frequency capacitor, okay, the low frequency electrolytic capacitor, plus the resistors. Okay, plus the resistors. So if you see a resistor, capacitor, electrolytic, or the high frequency, those are all supporting components. What are the other capacitors here? These are still same electrolytic, but they are not what do you call this? They are still arranged what do you call this, from higher to lower, but it's not like the resistors. I think I interchange some locations because like this one here, I got a what do you call this, 250 50 volts. I got a 2235. It's not arranged. The electrolytic are not arranged. Maybe I interchange it while I'm using it. But anyway, the markings are in here. So if you need a 22 microfarad capacitor, just go inside this one. Okay? And if the voltage specification is 35, just look for 22 and 35 on the body. If you need a 22 and the voltage rating is 25, you go 25. But when you are troubleshooting, at least you know how to, what do you call this, substitute a certain value. Like, if you need the 22 microfarad and the voltage specs is 10, and you try to look inside and you cannot find a 22 microfarad 10 volts, you could substitute a same value capacitor with the higher voltage rating. Okay? Higher voltage rating, it's fine. It will not get burned. But if you try to use a 22 microfarad, then there is no such thing as 5 volt electrolytic. Okay? You cannot go below. So if you try to substitute, at least the value of the microfarad will be the same, but the voltage rating will be higher than the one you're looking for. It's just fine. It will not get burned. You're safe. So for now, these are my parts while I have my electronic troubleshooting shop in Carson City a long time ago. So if we are talking troubleshooting, I know how to troubleshoot. Okay? So these are my parts. Like my, what do you call this, my oscilloscope. You know how come the color of this one is already going gold? Meaning to say this was used a long time ago. Okay, good morning from Los Angeles. I just have shown you the parts I have used when I was having or I got my troubleshooting shop before in Carson City. Okay, these are my parts. The next time around, I will show you all my multi-testers being used in troubleshooting. So what I have shown you are actually the transistors, high-frequency capacitors, resistors from 1 ohm to 6.8 million ohms value, and from the electrolytic capacitor from higher to lower. Okay, good morning from Los Angeles. This is Professor David J. Delos Reyes.